On her very first morning at Argon Corp, a prestigious financial firm in the heart of Manhattan, Elise Bennett stepped through the grand glass doors, the word Trainee gleaming on her badge beneath the overhead lights. She wore a simple white blouse, hair neatly tied, and a folder tucked under her arm. But only a few steps in a soft chuckle echoed, followed by a splash. A plastic cup emptied over her. Dark liquid dripped down her collar, soaking into every fold of fabric. "Oops, thought you were janitorial." Brandon, a privileged intern, held the empty cup with a smirk. Laughter exploded across the lobby from the elevators to the reception desk. Elise stood still. No reaction. No words. Her head-lifted eyes quietly scanning the faces, laughing, stopping briefly at Brandon, who spun the cup like a trophy. The cola continued to trickle down her neck, soaking her already wrinkling shirt. Elise didn't wipe it, didn't flinch. In her eyes there was no shame, only a silence so unsettling it made the room still, like something unspoken had just entered the air. A few hours later, in that very same space, the most powerful man in the company stepped forward, stood before Elise, and bowed. "Please welcome the new chairwoman of Argon Corp, Ms. Elise Bennett." Elise stood there, a quiet dot in the center of the company's chaos. Her white blouse was soaked and clung to her skin, the collar stained by soda. Her tied hair glistened beneath the icy LED lights overhead. She hadn't cleaned her face, hadn't changed. Even when Damian Wells, the young CEO, emerged from his private elevator, the entire office fell into silence. No one understood why he stopped in front of Elise, eyes fixed on her. Then in a moment no one anticipated, he bowed and spoke. "It is my honor to introduce the new chairwoman of Argon Corp's North American division, Ms. Elise Bennett." Not a single clap, only the suffocating hush of realization. Elise's gaze never changed, calm, gentle, but sharp as a blade. The laughter from the morning caught in throats. Some looked down in shame. Others quickly slipped their phones back into pockets. Brandon, the one who had thrown the drink, froze, gripping the now empty cup. He backed away toward the buffet, each step loud in the stillness. Elise remained motionless, not rushing forward, not smiling. As if the humiliation from earlier had merely been a test before the world got to see who she truly was. No one at the office that day knew Elise Bennett was the sole granddaughter of the late chairman of Bennett Holdings, one of the oldest and most powerful financial dynasties in America. She grew up in gated mansions, dined with world leaders, and was taught how to command a boardroom with a glance instead of words. But being raised in a glass cage, Elise had never believed she truly understood workers. When given control of Argon Corp, an infamously uncorrectable division due to its toxic culture, she declined the ceremonial welcome, insisted on anonymity, and entered the building like a regular intern. She wanted to hear the whispers no superior ever would, to witness how people behaved when they believed she was no one. And that morning, when the cold soda hit her neck, Elise realized she had just found exactly what she came for, the unfiltered truth about Argon. Not strategies or numbers, but the way people were glorified or dismissed in the same hallway based solely on the words on their name tag. Now that her identity was public, every eye was on her. But Elise didn't look back. She didn't need fear in their stares, she wanted awakening. This time she wasn't here to sit in the chairwoman's seat. She was here to flip the entire system. Her identity was announced, but respect not yet earned, or rather not yet allowed. Right after the startling reveal, Elise returned wearing her same trainee badge. No wardrobe change, no clarification, which led many to believe the CEO's introduction was merely a publicity stunt. In the fourth-floor hallway, a group of junior managers' wrists glittering with Swiss watches blocked the elevator. A platinum blonde woman with crimson lips curled hers into a sneer. "Sorry, staff only. Interns take the service lift in the back. Smells like garbage, but you'll fit right in." Laughter. Elise didn't react. Her eyes remained steady, unfazed. She turned the quiet tapping of her flats echoing as she walked toward the stairs. "I like to walk," she said. Her voice floated back soft, but somehow heavier than a shout. In the pantry, a marketing associate stepped in front of her as she reached for a napkin to dab the remaining soda from her blouse. "This isn't a secondhand shop fitting room," he mocked. Then snapped a photo adding a hashtag #officefail. Elise didn't grab the phone. She gently placed the napkin back on the counter and walked away. Her eyes never broke from theirs, but she said nothing. All along the hallway, stares of contempt trailed her like shadows. That trainee badge seemed to mask the truth of who she was. But Elise hadn't come for fairness. She came to remember every face. Because soon, each of them would have to face the truth. By late afternoon, Argon's office hummed louder as the networking mixer began. Soft background music played, glasses of wine floated past laughter echoing like nothing humiliating had happened earlier. Elise stood at the edge of the room sipping plain water. No one approached her. Some whispered, "She's still here," but Elise didn't turn. Her eyes simply followed how people orbited the powerful like moons around corporate suns. Brandon, ever the star of his own show, held court at the center. Vanessa, the platinum blonde from earlier, laughed beside him, loud, bright, exaggerated. And then Margaret arrived. A woman in her 60s, silver hair, cropped sharp eyes like steel, Argon's longest-standing strategic advisor. She didn't smile, didn't mingle. She leaned against a pillar, surveying the room like a judge at a tribunal. When her gaze landed on Elise, something shifted. Not pity, not surprise, recognition. Without a word, Margaret approached Elise. Under dozens of curious glances, she handed her a red envelope stamped confidential. "Restructuring documents. Global Chair requests your review before tonight's closed session." A nearby employee overheard. "Chair." What, he stuttered. Elise nodded, took the envelope and walked away. No explanation. She didn't need to raise her voice to be believed. She just had to keep walking. Because from this moment forward, the truth was beginning to move. Toward the end of the mixer, the atmosphere grew looser. Wine flowed freer. Elise stood near the buffet, still quiet. She wasn't observing anymore, she was waiting. Brandon swaggered over his smirk, never having faded. A fresh glass of Coca-Cola in hand. "Still hanging around?" he jeered. Before Elise could answer, he tilted the cup, and once again soda cascaded down her blouse. The room froze. One breath of silence. Then the laughter came sharp and wild like glass shattering. She's showing her adaptability. Maybe she finally learned how to mop floors. Elise didn't move, didn't reply. Soda dripped from her chin, soaked her collar. Her eyes remained wide, calm like still water before the storm. A young floor supervisor marched over, voice clipped. "This event is invite only. You're not on the list. Please leave." Elise set her glass down gently. "I will," she replied, soft, but so clear the room recoiled. As she passed through the lobby doors, Margaret stepped into view. Silent. She pointed to the corner security camera, its red light blinking. 10 minutes later, the executive board received the footage. Elise Bennett doused in Coke a second time, standing tall amidst roaring laughter. A whisper in the boardroom. "Oh my God, that's Elise Bennett." The head of HR paled. "We're finished." He wasn't wrong. By noon the next day, Brandon was suspended indefinitely. Vanessa placed under review for internal harassment. Archived messages, photos, and silent complaints rose like a tide. And Elise? She never responded. She didn't demand apologies, didn't seek validation. The system was doing that for her. The cafeteria was quiet the following day. Elise sat alone, an apple and a water bottle on her tray. Eyes glanced her way no longer with contempt, but caution. Some avoided her altogether. The ones who laughed before dared not speak now. Then someone approached. Not a manager, not a department head, a middle-aged woman in a navy uniform, hands calloused, the faint scent of cleaning supplies trailing her. She stopped in front of Elise, steady. "I saw what they did to you," she said. "You're stronger than they'll ever understand." Elise looked up. Her eyes softened for the first time all week. "Thank you," she whispered. The next morning, that woman, Karen, a longtime janitor, found a sealed envelope in her locker, appointment letter, facilities supervisor. Signed Elise Bennett. No spotlight, no announcement. Just quiet acknowledgement. Word spread quickly. Those who had helped Elise, like the IT guy who handed her a towel, the designer who simply smiled, each received calls to the chairwoman's office. No lectures, no speeches, just a simple message. "Thank you for being kind when no one made you." And from that moment on, Argon began to change. Not from a policy memo, but from gratitude given precisely to those who deserved it. The final board meeting ended with no applause. Not because they didn't respect her, but because they no longer knew how to face her. Elise walked out like a winter wind, silent, cutting, unforgettable. In the lobby, the LED screen displayed a message from the global board. Argon Corp begins full culture restructure under chairwoman Elise Bennett. "We won't fire you for your past mistakes, but we won't keep you if you refuse to grow." Emails followed. Nearly 20 names those who mocked, ignored, and shamed were summoned to HR. None objected, because the new surveillance system Elise had built missed nothing. The quiet allies. They were added to a new core team, the Cultural Seed Program. That afternoon, Elise left the building one last time. But before she did, she paused in the lobby right where the first Coke had hit her. She placed her old trainee badge on the marble counter, then wrote on the back, "Title doesn't define character. How you treat someone you think is beneath you does." She walked away, never looked back. 3 weeks later, that badge was framed and hung in the building's main entrance. Beneath it, a quote endorsed by the entire board. "We didn't just get a new chairwoman, we were given a mirror." And from that day on at Argon, no one dared judge by skin color, outfit, or the word intern again, because now they knew the one they mocked today could be the one rewriting the rules tomorrow.